What's up, everybody? FLF here. Before we jump in, let's dive in with a quick word of prayer. Dear Father, I ask that you just guide this conversation, Lord. Allow us to be focused on you during this topic, that we're able to break apart the things that are important, reveal truth in the midst of your light, that we don't allow ourselves to be deceived by darkness. And that's a special prayer for Doja Cat and her family, Lord, that you could be with them and reveal yourself to them in a meaningful way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So jumping right into this, I think, before we talk about this new video that Doja Cat released called Paint the Town Red, I want to kind of look at the history of what's been going on, because typically what you see in culture with musicians or celebrities, there's usually this progression, like there's this pushing of the envelope that's happening with their public image or the way that they're being perceived, and it kind of goes on and on and on. And I think, the frog being boiled in the lukewarm water with the gradual increase of temperature is kind of what happens, where these small changes amount over time and over time. It's very rare that you see an artist kind of come out with blatantly satanic imagery or start adopting some of their philosophies at face value right away. It's becoming more common, but it usually takes time. Like Playboi Carti, when he first came out, definitely didn't have a lot of the satanic type of imagery that he has now. I would probably say the same thing with artists like Travis Scott. On the flip side, maybe artists like Lil Uzi Vert or Juice WRLD kind of jumped out the gate with that, or even XXXTentacion or some of those artists. But usually you'd have this artist that's in the limelight, they're around for a while, and then as time goes on, they become more and more blatant about their beliefs or about the way they portray things. The Weeknd is a good example of that. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Doja Cat as well. We're essentially seeing this gradual sort of process of her becoming more and more transparent, that she's an industry pawn, I think would be the best way to put it, or an industry plant that's kind of put there in so many ways to adopt and push the agenda that's being platformed by these elites. And the reason that I say this is because when Doja Cat first came out, she was kind of like edgy, maybe an edgy musician, had some like weird song choices and was doing things kind of loud and vocal. But as time went on, you saw more and more of this sort of odd behavior, whether it was her shaving her eyebrows completely off during a live, or more recently, people would say that she was doing cocaine live while she was on a live stream, or the types of imagery that she was putting out where she was shaving her head, cutting off her hair, starting to pose in really weird ways and push really weird images. And this latest sort of visual that we see from Paint the Town Red is prefaced by a lot of really interesting things, but the weirdest of them all was their birthday party, her 27th birthday party. Now, I did a video about this in more and more detail, but essentially her 27th birthday party, the first things first, her actual birthday party, everyone wore, a mask, or that was kind of the theme of the actual birthday party, very similar to Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick, that people were arriving to this party, this event, in a masked apparel, right? Which is indicative of a lot of things that you typically see when you're thinking about like these occult-like practices. Her cake even had a compass very similar to the Masonic one. I would say it's straight up the Freemason logo. And then you saw some more things kind of happen after the fact, where it was very clear that this was kind of an initiation ritual of sorts. You've seen this in the past before with artists like Pink, where on stage they're literally going through the initiation sort of process that you would typically see when it comes to Freemasonry and what Freemasonry looks like. And the fact that all of this is prefacing some of her most recent songs, some of her most recent graphic visuals, and then specifically this music video now, Paint the Town Red. Now, leading up to the release of this, Doja Cat's been at a lot of very popular industry events where she's dressed really bizarrely. Like at the Met Gala, she was dressed looking like a cat, straight up like a cat, which a lot of people could kind of tie to maybe Betty Kitten programming. At another event, she was completely covered in red, shaved. I would say that she looks like a demon from the way that she was dressed and presenting herself. And it's just one of those things where you kind of constantly see this happening ongoing, and it begs the question as to what is going on. Now, this music video for Paint the Town Red, I actually didn't even watch the music video because I genuinely don't want to have any of this stuff put into my mind. But from the visuals that you're seeing, it's her process, and even some of these popular publications, of her transitioning into hell. You see her dressed in all red, meeting and developing a relationship with Death, who then her and Death become demons, and they're kind of messing with each other as demons. You see her on top of the head of a demon, riding this demon as he goes through the town. You see her in a dark room being lit up with a cross hanging around her neck, but behaving in a very demonic way with very creepy and strange visuals tied to it. And even in the lyrics of the song, she goes on to say that this chick is a devil. She literally says that on the song. The chorus too seems to kind of be indicative of what's happening here, where she goes in so many words to say that I don't care. I'm doing it for the fame. I've sold it. I've sold myself out. I don't have the exact lyrics in front of me, but I'll pull that up in the video. But essentially the idea that she's sold out for the fame and she doesn't care. And again, the fact that she's on Instagram Live doing all these crazy things and then even possibly snorting cocaine, that's an allegation. I don't want to give it any credit if it's not due. But bizarre behavior, bizarre circumstances, birthday party that looks like an initiation ritual, and everything else that surrounds kind of this behavior and this type of agenda that's being pushed. Now, I've talked about this lots of times, but more and more we see celebrities and musicians and the mainstream kind of normalizing Satanism, normalizing the satanic behavior. You even had Tyrese Gibson on the Big Boy Show talking about how we're normalizing Satan and the devil. And it's very common because it's kind of like if you normalize Satan, if you normalize the devil, then he's not real anymore. And that's the perfect opportunity to deceive you. But if you know that God is real, you know that Christ is real, then you know the realities of this spiritual war that we're in. So seeing this constantly being pushed is, it shouldn't be surprising, but it is surprising to see the gravity and the consistency that it's being pushed with. Now, again, I always kind of tie back to who cares what this person is doing or what they're doing, but the reality is they have a platform and they have people listening to these songs, watching these videos, repeating the lyrics, and becoming infatuated or in love with this artist, this persona, this idol that they end up worshiping. Now, we know in the end times, men will become lovers of themselves, seeking after their own lusts and various lusts. And we know that there's going to be false prophets, and we know that people are going to be led astray in these end times. And this is a great example of that, because one of the things that I constantly kind of push on when I'm making content, and the reason that I want to make content, is to expose kind of this satanic imagery that comes along with it. When you see blatant tarot cards or demonic normalization happening in music videos and lyrics talking about how that person is a devil, or that she is in fact a devil, or that she's sold herself out for the fame, this goes beyond me trying to do an elaborate interpretation of what's going on. It's very cut and dry. This person is saying what they're doing. And, if they show themselves to us, we should believe them, right? With that in mind, it's kind of like, okay, well, what's the result? I think the result of it is, one, we need to be very diligent about studying our Bibles, becoming familiar with the Word of God, investing into the things that will help us grow spiritually and come to know Christ in a meaningful way. I think the other thing is we have to be aware of this spiritual war that's around us. And, it's difficult sometimes, but even when I'm like working out or I'm in the car listening to the radio, I try to be mindful of the artists that are actually popping up, because the reality is I'm going to be stuck singing this person's song all day potentially, and whatever they're saying in that song, I'm committing to memory, I'm committing to my daily routine, and those are things that we have to be mindful of. Too often we make idols out of these celebrities and these musicians only to have them torn down. And even with Doja Cat or some of these other ones, maybe a less extreme example of that from a demonic or satanic viewpoint, and maybe just from a character or moral standpoint, is Lizzo. So you have Lizzo coming out, and it's been revealed that she was fat shaming her backup dancers, that she was causing them to do sexually explicit things, in different scenarios. It's come out that she had people sign NDAs so that she could kind of do whatever she wants and fire who she wants, and people who were on her team essentially and help her with her productions come out and say, hey, this is an environment I wasn't happy with. But people had built Lizzo, or any celebrity really, up to this standpoint of being an idol, someone that is a idealistic goal or something to achieve or something to look up to, only to be disappointed. And I think whenever we do that with anybody in our lives, especially public figures, we're going to be let down. And even if we do it with our church or with a pastor or someone within our community, we have to kind of keep our eyes on Christ and always filter what we're consuming through the lens of what Christ would do. And what would Jesus do? WWJD. It's still very relevant today. So as we're kind of looking at this, I don't want to spend an entire video breaking apart kind of the symbolism that's in this, because it's all very blatant. It's straight up tarot card. It's straight up satanic. There's no confusion about what's being communicated. It's really about, are we still going to listen? Are we still going to indulge? Are we still going to participate? I had someone comment on a TikTok video one time when I was doing a review of the Sam Smith Unholy record. They were like, oh man, I can't believe he's talking about that. That's so bad. I just can't help but listen because it's so catchy. And I'm like, you're more interested, and not to judge this person, but you're more interested in listening to a catchy song and enjoying that 2 to 3 minutes you might be listening to the song, even if it dishonors your God. I can promise you that's not really, I imagine, a big problem in other religions. It seems exclusive to Christianity. I don't think Muslims or devout Muslims are listening to songs that dishonor Muhammad or whoever else they might worship, or these other religions. I don't think they're giving that the time of day, but somehow Christians are always doing that, and it's disappointing and it's painful, but it's the reality. We have to be stern in our face, because deceptions will come, and if possible, the devil will deceive the very elect. But yeah, this is just one more example of that. But thank you guys so much for checking it out, tuning in. If this is relevant for you, or a message that could be resonated with someone that you know, please share the video. That's really the only reason that we're doing this, to get the word out and hopefully allow people to be awaken to what's happening and to continue Light of Babylon. Again, FLF here. God bless. Thank you for tuning in, and let's always continue to Light of Babylon.